G'day everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Sam. And if you are a regular practitioner here on the channel, you'll know I haven't been too frequent with my videos lately. I asked if you read the description below and you'll understand why I haven't been as frequent here on the channel. And I appreciate your patience and I'm super happy that you're here today. Today we're working on finding some stability in some very unstable positions and also working to lengthen through the front and the back of the hips. You won't need any props for today's practice. If you've got blocks, it's always handy just to keep them close by if you need a helping hand along the way. Otherwise, you know the drill. We'll get right into it. So when you're ready, we'll get started in child's pose. When you come on down, as soon as that forehead hits the mat and you allow your eyes to close, just acknowledge what the first emotion, the first sensation, the first feeling is once you get down. And let's acknowledge that whatever it is that we're feeling, it's not going to last forever. The physical yoga journey, much like the journey of life, we travel through a series of emotions from day to day, from minute to minute, from second to second. It's important to remember that whatever that we are feeling at the present moment, we can allow ourselves to acknowledge that sensation, that feeling, that emotion, without attaching to it. For we know that it's fleeting. Take a few more breaths here. Last breath. From here, coming up onto hands and knees. And when you get there, allow your toes to tuck under and turn your fingers to face back towards your knees. So we're stretching through wrists, stretching through toes, moving heels away from each other and closer towards each other, just so you feel that stretch through the bottoms of the feet. Some days we feel a little different. If there's more space there in the wrists, you can lift the palm up, but still try and keep those 4 fingers grounded. Maybe taking that just one hand at a time. Then untucking the toes, we'll press down through the tops of the feet. We're going to take a few rounds of cow-cat just like this, still with the fingers facing back towards the thighs. So as you inhale, let your belly soften, start to pull your chest forwards through your arms and lift your gaze up. As we exhale, tuck the chin to chest, push to round and see if you can press through the tops of your feet to hover your knees. And then inhale, knees drop, we lift the chest. Exhale, press into the feet to round. And take one more, just like that. Inhale, we open. Exhale, we close to round. Then we'll soften the knees back down. If the wrists still feel good, we're going to keep the fingers facing backwards and just work to step the feet back and lift the knees. So we're coming to a plank pose with our fingers turning backwards. So it's a little bit uncomfortable, and there will be points of this practice that won't be the most comfortable, but it's all about trying to see whether the body can withstand that frustration and that tension, or if we succumb or surrender to the pose, to the shape, to the experience. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All the knees down, send your hips back towards your heels. Just interlace your fingers really lightly and start to roll through the wrists. So already my hands and wrists are starting to feel it, so hopefully you're feeling some sensation there, but no pain. And then from here we'll prepare for our first downward facing dog. So take your down dog how you normally would, ground the hands down, tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back. Whatever you need to do once you get there, just let your journey start to evolve naturally, moving through the feet, Sending hips from side to side, trying to understand where in the body you're feeling tension and trying to take your awareness and your energy to those spaces. When we naturally come back to stillness, a little more space between the feet today, shuffle them out wider. And then on your next inhale, lift your heels really high. Start to roll forward to find a plank pose. So articulating through the spine, pausing there, take a breath. As you exhale, bend the knees slightly, send the hips up and back. And we'll do that 2 more times. So inhale, lift the heels, roll forward. Exhale, bend the knees, take the hips up and back. 1 more inhale, lift those heels, roll forward. Exhale, bend the knees, take it back. Downward facing dog. Nice one. Heels rise nice and high. We'll slowly walk forwards towards the top of the mat. See if you can keep the palms pressing down once you get there. And inhale, lift the chest halfway, come onto your fingertips or rest your hands against your shins. Then exhale to fold over your thighs. Taking hands to the back of the head, allowing your head to really drop heavy, a little shake from side to side. I quite like a little bop up and down here just to give the hamstrings a little bit of extra length. Now they're your legs, always remembering you can bend your knees as much as you need to find a little more space. We'll let the hands soften down, start to roll up towards standing, keeping that head heavy until you reach the top. And once you get there, inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Let your left hand catch hold of your right wrist. Start to send your hips off to the right as you bend towards the left-hand side of the room. So really stretching out through that right-hand side of the body. Take a breath. Exhale, bring it back through center. Swapping sides, right hand will catch the left wrist. Inhale to extend and exhale to bend. So hips moving out towards the left as you bend off to the right, giving that left side body a little bit of space. And coming back through center, let your arms rest down by the sides, gently fold over your thighs. Inhale, chest will rise, lengthen halfway. From here, palms will ground flat. We'll step back to a plank and give yourself lots of space between the feet once you get there. We are going to get into the work, so feet nice and wide. Push through the hands. We're going to send both heels off towards the left hand side of the room and start to reach the right arm up towards the sky. So we want to be resting on the outside edge of the left foot and the inside edge of the right foot. Pushing through that left hand, maybe gazing up towards that right thumb. Feeling the left side obliques, working to lift the hips up nice and high. And take a breath here. As we exhale, look down at the floor, roll onto the toes, and just extend your right arm to the right-hand side. So you're in a very awkward one-arm plank position. And stabilize through the pelvis, keep pushing through that left hand, and see if you can square your chest towards the floor. Take an inhale. As you exhale, right hand will ground. Both heels spin off to the right-hand side. Left arm will reach up towards the sky. So we're coming straight onto the opposite side. Lifting the hips high and maybe looking up towards that left thumb. Feeling your hips move away from the floor rather than towards. Take a breath. Exhale, rolling onto toes, looking down, extending left arm towards the left-hand side of the room, squaring off through the hips, squaring off through the chest and shoulders, and just trying to find stability in this very unstable position. Take one last breath. As you exhale, left hand will ground, come onto the toes, lean forward, and then bend the elbows, take yourself down to the floor. Push through the feet, inhale, lift the chest, find that cobra pose, breathe in. As you exhale, head will drop. We'll tap the toes, find a push-up to take us back to downward facing dog. Take a long breath in. Let it out. And let the inhale reach the right leg up nice and high. Flex the toes towards the face. And then lift your left heel. Pull the right knee to chest. Try and gently deliver the right foot between the hands. Letting your back knee drop down will come on up. Back toes are going to stay tucked under. Inhale to reach your arms high. This time right hand will catch the left wrist. We'll send the hips forward as we bend off to the right hand side. Maybe shifting your gaze underneath your left armpit. Really sending those arms off towards the right-hand side and sending your hips forward here. Finding that stretch through left side body. Still flexing into your left glute to give that back hip a little bit of support on the left-hand side. Take an inhale. As we exhale, come back through center, sending towards your hips back will straighten through the left leg. So you're coming to your variation of an Ardha Hanuman or a halfway split, flexing those right toes towards your face, allowing your chest to lift up nice and high. Take a breath. As you exhale, see if you can bend your elbows, allow yourself to rest. So by pulling, allow of the neck to lengthen. So the back of the neck is just the spine. To give you some extra length. And still flexing through that right foot, like the right big toe was trying to tap the crown of the head. One last breath. Then lift your chest up higher, rebend that right knee, lift, and then walk your hands off towards your left heel, start to sit deep into your left hip, and just let your arms reach out in front of you. So we'll have the right toes flexing towards the face, and just sitting deep as your left ankle will allow. If you need to lift the left heel off the floor, that's completely fine. If you have the space and the hips are quite low to the floor, without anything else changing, see if your hips can drop. Then a little mobility challenge. We're just going to try and lift straight back up. So right toes stay flexing, we lean forward, hips lift back up. Nice one. And then looking to the top of the mat, we'll walk around the lunge and set up for twisted Skandasana. So if you're unfamiliar with that shape, left hand will stay grounded. All 10 toes will be on the right hand side. So we're falling to the outside edges of the feet and falling as we reach the right arm back behind us. Now if you look at my left leg here, it's straight. The knee is close to the floor, but not quite grounded, and that left leg is going to stay the same. So really flex the left toes towards you and keep that left knee lifting. From here, reach the right arm up towards the sky, push through left hand and left foot, right knee lifts up towards the sky as well. So keep your gaze steady down towards your left hand, keep lifting, 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 those hips nice and high, and that right knee really, really high here. Stabilizing in the unstable position. Take an in-breath. As you exhale, right hand will ground, roll onto left toes, extend the right leg back, keep it floating, and then lower down to the floor. Through your breath in. Exhale, forward. The toes, take the push up, back to downward facing dog. One in breath. Let it out. And left leg will rise high. Watch it as you lift it. Keep it engaged. Right heel lifts, left knee to chest. Place the foot forward. Soften the back knee down. Right toe stay tucked as we lift. Left hand will catch hold of the right wrist this time. We'll send the hips forward. Bend off to the left hand side. So we're trying to target the psoas line or the hip flexors here on the front of the right hip. So the more you can send your hips forward and take the arms off towards the left, the more you're really going to get that stretch. And that's going to help us into some deeper hip openers later on. One last breath. Take it back through center, hands to the mat. As you come back towards that half split, it's always good just to lengthen the back knee backwards a little before you allow yourself to fold. Flexing into your left toe. Inhale, chest will rise. Exhale, we'll find the fold, elbows bend, head drops. Remember, keeping neck and extension of the spine, traveling in the same direction. And lifting your chest back up, rebend your left knee, will come to the lunge, back knee will rise, and then take the journey around to your right leg, bending into the right knee, sitting down. toes flexing towards you. Then if there's space, lean forward, hips lift back up. Walk around to the top of the mat, find your twisted Skandasana. So right hand firmly planted, 10 toes pivot to left. As you reach your left arm back, keep your left knee away from the floor if possible, but of course you can get nice and low there. Just flexing that right foot towards you and keeping that right leg active. Then pushing through right hand and right foot, left arm will reach up towards the sky, left knee will reach up towards the sky as well. Really allowing those hips to lift, finding that almost harbour bridge-like quality under the right-hand side of the body. Take one last breath. And then roll onto that right toes, extend the left leg back behind you, take an inhale, one-legged plank. Exhale, we lower down. Pull through that cobra, breathe in. Exhale, head drop. Tuck the toes. We'll come back to downward facing dog. And once we get there, walk your hands back towards your feet. First two fingers catch hold of the big toes. Inhale, we lift the chest halfway. Exhale, bend your elbows. Pull yourself down over your thigh. You lean forward into the toes. Roll your shoulders down so your neck gets longer rather than shorter. This grip of the toes we really want to focus on. It is the first two fingers around the inside of the big toe. So if you were to look at your hands, we want the palms facing towards each other here. We're gripping. We're not holding on gently to the toes, but we're really trying to pull on them. Take one last breath. And gently release your toes. Take a halfway lift. Walk it back to downward facing dog. So those hands walk forwards, hips lift up and back, and you may notice a little more length in the back of the legs here. Take an inhale. Let it out. And inhale, we'll take the right leg up towards the sky. When you get it there, let the hip roll open, bend into the knee. Then we're going to target the left leg here. So lift your left heel, fall to the outside edge of the foot. But keep that left leg nice and straight as you deliver the ball of the right foot off the left-hand side of the mat. Spinning open the hips and heart, feeling that stretch through the right-hand side of your body. And this next part's going to be a little challenge, so the right hand's going to stay in the air. Look towards the top of the mat. See if you can bring the right knee towards your chest. Pivot onto your left toes and deliver the right foot as gently as you can to the top of the mat. Once you get there, back heel will drop down. We bend the front knee. We're in warrior two. So try and align those feet so that the front heel, I should say, is aligning with the inner arch of your back foot. And you're sitting deep in those thighs. Once you feel that back leg is nice and straight, the back glute is firm. We'll set the left hand onto the left hip. So you reach the right arm up towards the sky, straighten through the front leg. So both legs are straight now, flexing into the quads. We'll take a breath here. So you exhale, lean your right arm forwards, let the hips move back, and then set your right fingertips onto the floor, or a block, or your shin, and take the left arm up towards the sky. Trying to find just as much length through right side body as we do the left. If there is space, it doesn't require too much effort. We can find that grip again. First two fingers around the inside of the big toe. You're pulling on the toe to lift away from the floor. Take one last breath. And left hand will find the hip. As we look down, release the toe if you're holding it. Take a bend into your front leg, shuffle up your back foot, and see if you can gently open into your half moon. Sometimes always a little bit of wiggling to get there. Feel the left hip stacking on top of the right, flex the left toes towards you. If you have space, you can lift the right hand away from the floor. Keeping the gaze steady. If you have extra space, squeeze the left heel in towards your bottom. Maybe reach back, try to avoid the wall like I just could not do. Maybe reach back and catch hold of your left ankle. If you do have the ankle, try and kick the shin away from you. Open up into the front body if you can. Take one last breath. If you have the ankle, gently release it. Square off through the hips. Touch back to the lunge. Left toes to the back of the mat. Right knee will drop down. And we'll come back to that Ardha Hanuman, that halfway split. You might have a little more space this time. You could probably lengthen your left knee a little further backwards. Right toes flexing. Left glute firm. And if you can, allow the elbows to bend and a little bit of a fold there. And it's your shape. If there's a little more space, you can continue to lengthen the left leg backwards. Take one last breath in. And before we come out of the pose, we're trying not to panic. So shuffle the left knee in first, and then take your right leg back to meet your left, and just sit your hips atop your heels. When you get there, interlace your fingers, rest them gently into your lap. Allow your shoulders to draw back. And just breathe into full. And from here, we'll gently lift the hips, stack them on top of the knees. Take your hands to support your low back. You may be able to have the fingers pointing up. If that doesn't work, just have your fingers pointing down. Tuck under your toes, squeeze across your shoulder blades, and send your hips forwards to lift your chest up. Just keep the chin to chest looking forwards. Actions coming from those hips moving forwards, the chest lifting up, and the shoulder blades squeezing back. Trying to take your low back out of compression by using the heel of your hand to push your glutes down. Take one last breath. And gently lift the chest back up. We'll meet in downward facing dog. So walk your hands out in front, tuck your toes, lift your hips. Inhaling. Let it out. And left leg will rise high. And let the hip roll open. We'll bend into the knee. And again, to take it to wild thing, control the right leg. Keep it straight, fall to the outside edge. Ball of left foot grounds down. We open across the front body. Let your left arm be heavy here so you feel that stretch all along the left side of the torso into the belly. And look down at the right hand. Try and keep your left arm airborne. Left knee draws to chest. Roll onto the right toes. Try and deliver your left leg forwards gently. We're meeting warrior two. Back heel will ground down. Keep a bend into your left knee. Spread those arms out wide. One long line from the front heel to the arch of the back foot. Finding that depth. And then setting right hand across the right hip. Left arm rises as we straighten the front leg. So both legs are straight. Breathe in. Exhale, left arm reaches forwards, hips move back. And as you come to your triangle, remember fingertips on floor, hand on shin, or find your block. Spin gaze up towards your right hand. If you did on the previous side and there's space, first two fingers wrap around the inside of the left big toe. We lift and the torso away from the floor. One last breath. The right hand finds the hip. We look down, release that toe. Shuffle up the right foot. Bend your left knee and try and take yourself into that half moon. Try and control the transition. Flex those right toes towards you. Stabilize by bending and straightening the left leg and finding what works for you. Either keeping left fingertips grounded or working to float that bottom hand. And if we did on the previous side, wait to squeeze that right heel in. Maybe see if you can catch hold of the ankle. And working to find that stability. Keep your right foot flexing if you're holding the ankle. Take one last breath. And mindfully, release the back leg if you've got it. Square off through the hips, touch back to your lunge. And as you lower the back knee, we try and move towards that half split. maybe finding a little more space than we did on the previous round. So flexing that left foot towards you, and finding a little bit of that fold if there's an option to do so. Letting your head drop. Take one last inhale. And as we slowly lift our chest, we're going to do what we did before, so shuffle the right knee in a little closer. Try not to panic as you take your left leg back to meet your right, sitting your hips on your heels, giving the knees a chance to flex and your breath a chance to slow down. And then mindfully allowing your hips to rise, tucking your toes under, so working towards that same back bend we took before, with an option here to take it deeper for Ustrasana Camel. So start with the toes tucked, take your hands to support your low back, and then squeeze across your shoulder blades, send your hips forwards, lift the chest up. And you can absolutely stay right here if that's comfortable. If you want to work the Ustrasana Camel, we're going to keep the chest lifting, reach both hands back at the same time, see if we can catch the ankles. And for today, we'll go 4 fingers on the outside, thumb on the inside, and really actively press the hips forward and then roll your shoulder blades back towards each other. So important that we keep the pelvis stacked above the knees to keep the tension out of the low back. The very last piece of the puzzle, we can drop the head. And to reverse the process, gently lift the head. See if you can lean forward to lift both hands up at the same time. And as you untuck your toes, we'll take the knees together and fold over the heel. Bring your arms down alongside your body rather than out in front of you. And when you're we'll just cross the ankles, sit the hips onto the floor and extend the legs out nice and long. Just shuffling your hips so they feel even. We'll come towards Paschimottanasana, so lots of length in the hamstrings today. Keep those feet flexing. Lift your chest up high, inhaling. As you exhale, fold from the pelvis, lean the chest way out in front of you and try and reach way past your feet. Even if you can't, just imagine you're trying to reach way past your feet. If the feet aren't there to catch, let your hands rest anywhere, maybe just on the floor outside the shins with the palms facing up. If you can here in the fold, close the eyes. And as we did at the start of practice, acknowledge what you're feeling, the emotion, the sensation. Likely different to when we began our practice. Just goes to show the journey that we're on. Sometimes we forget we're on the journey. And things just happen. Some good, some bad, some ugly. But things are always happening. The only thing we can be sure of is everything is always changing. If we allow ourselves to be a witness, just acknowledge the journey without trying to attach to any particular piece, any particular part. We fully allow ourselves to embrace what is, instead of wondering what could be. Or we could just be stretching our hamstrings. Take one last breath. And lift up towards the seat. Allow yourself to roll down onto your back. When you get there, we'll take a twist. So extend your left leg out long. Bring the right knee to chest and allow your right knee to move off towards the left-hand side, spreading your arms apart wide. Imagine your exhales were sending your right knee closer towards the floor. And your inhales were breathing space between the vertebrae. Gently shift back through center. Just come to our final side. So right leg will extend long. Left knee will lift up and over. And really spreading your arms apart. And as we roll back towards center, we're going to finish with Happy Baby. But the intention of Happy Baby is to feel the entire length of the spine grounded on the mat. So what we want to try and avoid when we come towards this pose is lifting the head off. So see if you can just reach your arms up towards the sky, feel the shoulder blades draw apart. Then take your knees towards your arms, only a little bit wider. So as the knees draw in, they open out, and then try and deliver your feet to your hands. There's movement from side to side. We're still trying to feel the length of the spine grounded. If the bum lifts or the head needs to lift, just catch the back of the hamstrings instead. If there's space, you could straighten the legs, open the legs out wide. Take one last breath. As you exhale, you're going to deliver yourself down towards your Shavasana. Acknowledge that you've done something good for yourself. Be a witness in the journey. And with just as much effort as you put into the physical practice, allow yourself to embrace the rest. For this is when the true practice starts. When we're moving, it's easy, we're distracted. When we're still, we're forced to sit with what is. And sometimes that can be confronting. But allow yourself to fully embrace your stillness. Acknowledge what comes up for you while you're here, without attaching. Thank you so much for sharing your practice. As always, I'll see you again soon. Peace.